If you watch enough movies, you might start to believe that survival is a solo sport. We all love the image of the isolated hero, pushing through a blinding blizzard on pure, gritty determination. But the historical record suggests something different. When faced with a true existential threat, individual grit is often the first thing to fail. We see this pattern repeated across vastly different worlds, from the frozen mud huts of medieval Europe and the parched coastal deserts of ancient Peru, to the rebellious streets of Boston and the lethal court of the Tudors. These stories suggest that human ingenuity isn't actually a product of what we can invent alone. It is a product of who we have standing beside us. Facing a medieval winter meant living inside a wattle and daub hut. These were essentially giant baskets woven from sticks and smeared with a mixture of mud and animal dung. They offered almost no natural insulation against the sub-zero air.
For the average peasant, the season wasn't a test of personal endurance, it was a coordinated struggle. Survival required a constant, shared defense against the cold. The center of that defense was the hearth. Keeping it alive was a meticulous, shared family duty. They practiced fire banking, carefully burying glowing embers under a layer of ash before bed to keep the coals breathing until morning. When the fire burned low, families used human lasagna, packing multiple generations and their livestock into a single straw bed to harvest every available watt of body heat. These communities survived by merging their bodies and their meager resources into a single, unified biological shield. 5,000 years ago, the Supe Valley in Peru was an unlikely place for a metropolis. It was a barren landscape of sand and stone, with only a thin thread of river water to sustain life. Yet without metal tools or the wheel, the people of Caral engineered a thriving civilization. They built sophisticated irrigation systems to channel the river and wove massive cotton nets to trade for protein with the distant coast. Their architecture reflected this massive communal effort. They carried thousands of tons of rock in woven reed bags to raise stone pyramids, and carved deep, geometric plazas designed for thousands of people to gather at once. Remarkably, in a city of this scale, archaeologists have found no weapons and no defensive walls. Caral functioned as an economic hub, built on the interdependent exchange of food and textiles between far-flung valleys. The city flourished for over 1,000 years because its inhabitants leaned into this network of communal connection rather than individual domination. By 1773, the threat to survival in Boston had shifted from the natural world to the systemic weight of the British Empire. The resistance began here, in the Old South Meeting House. Thousands of citizens gathered in these pews, operating not as a mob, but as a coordinated assembly making a community-wide decision to defy royal authority. The Tea Party itself was a display of absolute collective discipline. The participants destroyed the tea, but refused to loot any other cargo, even making sure a broken padlock was replaced the next day to prove this was a matter of principle, not crime. This chart shows the scale of that unified strike. The destroyed tea was worth over 10,000 British pounds, a massive economic blow to the East India Company that focused the eyes of the entire empire on Boston. The Bostonians proved that an oppressed group could break the grip of a global power, but only through total, uncompromising communal solidarity. To see what happens when that solidarity is missing, we have to look at Tudor England. Anne Boleyn was a master of individual survival, navigating a lethal hierarchy through pure intellect and personal charm. Using her own weight, she upended the traditional power of the church and displaced Catherine of Aragon. She redesigned the English court to suit her own ambitions, but her power was tethered entirely to the king's favor. In her ascent, she failed to build a broader faction of allies among the nobility, leaving her without a political shield when the king's attention began to wander. When she failed to provide a male heir, the very men who had helped her rise, like Thomas Cromwell, utilized the bureaucratic machinery of the court to engineer her destruction with fabricated charges. As the court's support vanished, she was seamlessly replaced by Jane Seymour, whose quiet compliance was the exact opposite of Anne's individualistic fire. Anne defended herself with brilliance during her trial, but in a world of shifting political alliances, She was a person standing alone. Her execution demonstrates that even the most exceptional individual grit is often defenseless when it is isolated within a hostile system. The isolated queen fell, while the deeply communal peasants, Bostonians, and Caralians survived to build the foundations of nations and long-lasting peace. These examples challenge us to look at resilience as more than just a personal attribute. Sharing the warmth of a fire, standing together on a harbor wharf, carrying stone baskets in a desert, the specific tools change, but the underlying engine of survival remains the same. Our single most effective survival strategy has never been the brilliant individual. It has always been each other.